Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Hope all of my American viewers had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I took the last week off for the holiday, but I am back to talk about something that, I'm just so happy to be talking about, which is this report about the New York Excelsior building a roster made up of players entirely from marginalized gender identities. Obviously, there is a lot to unpack here. I'm not going to go too in-depth on everything. I'm going to link to some incredible articles and a Twitter thread in the description I think all of you should read. The article is from Liz Richardson, who is, in my opinion, the leading and best reporter in the Overwatch scene right now, and has been for several years now. I'm also going to link to a thread from Ara Mori, who is the Boston Uprising social media manager. I am going to link to things from them. I'm going to kind of talk about some stuff that they have as well. But I just kind of wanted to throw that out beforehand and say that you should definitely read through that article and read through that thread before you watch this video, or as soon as you finish watching this video, whatever it is. Those are way more important. Their voices are incredibly important on this matter. They are the people who are a part of these marginalized gender identities that are being looked at for this New York Excelsior roster. My voice, obviously, is not nearly as impactful and is not nearly as impacted as they are. And so you should absolutely support them and go read their thoughts. And what they have to say. I am going to be echoing some of the very similar sentiments from what they said, but understand that they have their own voice and their own words and things that I think you should hear directly from them and the things that they have to say. So with that in mind, let's jump in and let's talk about the report and my thoughts and why this whole idea is absolutely terrible and all that jazz. So I think just to begin with, let's talk about the idea of building a roster entirely of players from marginalized gender identities, because I think there is obviously a clear positive intention behind that, right? If you're going to build a roster with the idea of giving the spotlight to players who have never really had the opportunities in the past to showcase their strengths and showcase their ability, that is a positive thing. The problem is, most of these players have never had the opportunity to reach their highest potential, and so you'd be throwing them into the fire, essentially, without any real support behind them previously in their careers, and that is kind of the problem. And if you want to kind of, think about the way this would go, right? Think about some of the worst performances we've ever seen in the Overwatch League. The 0-40 Shanghai Dragons, the 0-21 or 0-16 LA Valiant from 2021, that's what it was. These teams were bad because they were players who were never given equal resources as players on the better teams around them, right? And so even though they were players who you could argue were, who obviously weren't bad at the game, right? The average Overwatch player at the time would have gotten destroyed by the Shanghai Dragons, right, in 2018, or destroyed by the LA Valiant in 2021. The problem is, these are players who are not being put in a position to succeed. I think that is always the clearest with the LA Valiant. One, it's more recent, and two, it's more egregious in the sense that the Valiant organization literally did not care about that team. They fielded the team with the minimum amount of required players, and they weren't even in the roles that they were supposed to be in, right? They had a DPS player playing tank, I believe, and a tank playing support. And so the team itself was put in a position to fail. They were put in a position where they were never going to succeed. So even though players like Wuya and Crystal had been in the Overwatch League, had proven themselves to some degree in the Overwatch League, they were never put in a position to succeed by the LA Valiant, by the organization that hired them. It feels very similar to that, this New York Excelsior story. This is not to say that New York would be signing a team and would not be giving them a coach, would not be giving them, things that are, normal things that teams get to succeed. The problem is, there's essentially saying that you're taking a team of semi-professionals in a sport who haven't had the opportunity yet to get to have that coaching by higher level coaches and play against some of the upper level competition, and you're immediately throwing them into the highest level of competition, right? That's like saying you're taking someone who just graduated high school and you're throwing them into the NFL immediately, right? In some sports, that works a little better. In some of the NFL, that never would work, because you don't have that opportunity to kind of hone your skills and be given the opportunity to become a better player and improve your skills. None of these players that the New York Excelsior, or I won't say none of the players, a lot of the players that they would be targeting have never had that high level tier 2, open division play. Someone who has, who I think you look at as one of the people who has a very unique perspective on this, is Aspen, of course, who has been in contenders for years, has been grinding and trying to get better and trying to be, make it to the Overwatch League. Her goal is to make it to the Overwatch League. And she had a tweet on the situation that I think perfectly encapsulated everything on this situation. She said, "I want to join an OWL team based on skill and not because of my gender. The fact that NYXL is wanting to make an all marginalized gender team that they know will struggle is frustrating. Put resources into calling all heroes or open division / contenders if you truly want to help." And my response to that is absolutely. I have been very critical in my time on this channel of organizations that make poor decisions. And one of those organizations that I have been highly critical of is the Vancouver Titans. But I will absolutely give credit where credit is due to the Vancouver Titans, who in the Challengers Cup, in Calling All Heroes, actually endorsed a team. They fielded a roster for that tournament because they wanted to enable those players to succeed. They wanted those players to be people that we could watch and associate with this organization. And that to me is absolutely what you should be doing in this scene. Support players who are going into this tournament, right? Support teams that want to do something in the Calling All Heroes tournament. Sure, the Vancouver Titans blue team didn't have, an incredible run, but the Vancouver Titans put their name behind this roster and said, we want you to see this roster succeed. We want this roster to do what it can and to do well because we believe in this initiative, and this is something that we are going to put our energy behind, and we believe that this is something that is worth investing in, and it's something that we think should get a future for this scene. And I think that is one of the things that to me was a huge moment when the Vancouver Titans were the roster to put a team out there and to say this is the team that we want to see people kind of supporting in this tournament. I think it's amazing. I think it's wonderful, and I think it's the best possible thing they could have done for any of these teams, any of these organizations, to actually put them, their name behind a team, right? That's phenomenal. That's fantastic. That is what you should be doing. What you should not be doing is getting a team together of players who unfortunately just have not had the same opportunities to improve and compete at the highest levels as a number of other players who are, cisgender men, who are the vast majority of players in Overwatch League history, all but one, as far as I'm aware. And so it's kind of a problem. And I think that that is really the thing that this boils down to. You would be creating a roster that is built to fail all to essentially create a PR statement. And this is a very clear thing. I'm going to pull a quote here from this Liz Richardson article that I think is phenomenal. Like I said, read this article, absolutely. But there's a little blurb in this article that I always wanted to kind of read. More context in the full article, so read the full article. I cannot stress that enough. But in the article, Liz says, due to this lack of available talent, sources stated they believe the New York Excelsior was contacting players of underrepresented genders below the level of Overwatch contenders or those with minimal competitive experience. She goes on to say the Excelsior, quote, do not want to consider a mixed roster because the statement isn't wide enough, according to the anonymous source who Liz spoke with. So it's very clear that they don't have any desire to see this roster to succeed. They want to throw a roster together to have a statement, to make it something that their fans can see. And at the end of the day, that just isn't the way to go. As much as I would love to see women get the opportunity to compete in the highest level, I also want them to be put in a position where they can succeed, and this simply is not that. So I hope New York Excelsior hear all of this and realize that this is a terrible idea. There are reports that they may have already kind of backed off the idea because things have been spreading and they other people kind of know about it. And so I think that there are a number of things that I've seen that the team may be moving off of this idea, which I certainly hope they are, because I don't think this is a good idea. And as someone who's been a fan of the New York Excelsior for years, it is becoming increasingly harder to support an organization that I think has really just come to the point where they don't actually know what they're doing. And they are really just trying to become endearing to people at the expense of their actual players and competitive integrity. They just want to field a roster that they can try to market, but they really seemingly don't have any idea what it takes to build a successful and competitive roster. And I kind of hope that, despite the fact that we know they're making major changes, I kind of hope that that also includes Nugget, the GM, leaving this team, because if this is an idea that he thinks is a good idea, he absolutely should never go anywhere close to constructing an Overwatch League roster again, because that is quite possibly one of the stupidest things I have ever heard of an Overwatch League executive wanting to do. And I really hope this organization takes a long look internally and recognizes where their flaws are and where they need to completely change their tune as an organization, and just build a Western roster. Just build a normal Western roster, trial players, and if a player like Aspen or another player from a marginalized gender identity shows out to those trials and has a fantastic trial and proves themselves to be one of the best players in the world, then I absolutely think and hope that you sign this player to your team. But don't turn them into trophies. Don't put them on a pedestal. Don't sign them just to say, look at us, we signed a team of women or of trans players or whatever it is. Give us all your support, buy our merchandise, look at how cool we are. That's not the way to do it. And if you think that's the way to do it, you have a long, long, long way until you are actually going to be a place where people of marginalized gender identities actually feel safe, and we as a scene need to do a lot better to keep ensuring that the safety of people of marginalized identities are protected for the future. That's it on my thoughts. Links in the description to everything I talked about, everything I think you should read. Liz Richardson article, Aramori's thread, Aspen's Twitter and tweet, whatever, all of that stuff is linked in the description. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this down below. Please don't be an idiot. Don't say something stupid, because I will delete your comment if you say something stupid. So just think before you post and think before you speak, please. This is a very sensitive topic, I know, and I know that there are some people in this scene, even some former casters in this scene, who have shown that they are very clearly not supportive of this whole side of the esports scene. And so there's still a lot of room for us to grow as a community. There's still a lot for us to do, but I do hope that this is a wake-up call to teams and organizations that you have to put in the time and the effort, and that the best thing you can do is just support homegrown talent and support initiatives like Calling All Heroes, and don't try to bypass it and push us back further than we already are. But that's it. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.